The casino chips clattered against the table as Mark tossed them down, his wedding ring glinting under the harsh fluorescent lights. I watched from across the room, my heart pounding but my face carefully neutral. He hadn't noticed me yet. He never noticed much these days, too focused on the promise of his next big win. My name is Diana Mitchell, and until 6 months ago, I thought I had the perfect life. A beautiful home in Boston's suburbs, a successful career as a financial advisor, and what I believed was a stable, loving marriage. Mark and I had been together for 15 years, building what I thought was our dream life together. He handled our joint finances while I focused on my clients, trusting him completely with our future. That trust shattered the day I found the letter from our bank. It had been a normal Tuesday morning. I was sorting through the mail before heading to work when I saw the envelope marked Urgente si Chiromini Nota Si. My hands trembled as I opened it, scanning the contents with growing horror. Our joint account was overdrawn by $47,000. But that was impossible. We had over $2 million in savings. I called the bank immediately, my professional composure cracking as I learned the truth. Our accounts had been systematically drained over the past 3 years. Investment accounts liquidated. Credit cards maxed out. Home equity line of credit nearly exhausted. Mrs. Mitchell, the bank representative said gently, there have been regular large withdrawals, all authorized with your joint account credentials. Most of them were processed at ATMs inside in core Boston Harbor Casino. The room spun as pieces started falling into place. Mark's late nights at work. The mysterious business trips. The way he'd become defensive whenever I brought up our finances, insisting everything was fine and I should trust him to handle it. That evening, I confronted him in his home office. Spreadsheets and bank statements covered his desk like evidence at a crime scene. "What is this?" I demanded, holding up the bank letter. "Where is our money, Mark?" He looked up, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. A mix of desperation and detachment that chilled me to my core. "It's fine," he said, waving his hand dismissively. "I've got a system worked out. A few more weeks and I'll win it all back." "You worry too much, Diana." "Win it back." My voice cracked. "How much have you lost?" He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Look, the market's been tough. I had to make some moves to cover our positions. But I found this great opportunity." "How much, Mark?" He muttered something under his breath. "What was that?" $2.3 million, he said finally, give or take. The room tilted dangerously. Our entire retirement fund. The money we'd spent 15 years building. Gone. "But that's not all," I pressed, my voice eerily calm. "Is it?" He shifted uncomfortably. "There might be some other obligations." "How much debt are we in?" "About $800,000. He said it like he was discussing the weather. "But like I said, I've got a system. This guy at the casino showed me a foolproof way to—" I cut him off. "Stop. Just stop." I walked out of his office in a daze, my mind racing. 15 years of marriage, of trust, of building a life together. All of it gambled away without a second thought. I felt sick, but underneath the nausea was something else. Something harder and colder that had been building for months as I'd watched our marriage slowly unravel. That night, I lay awake in our bed, listening to Mark's steady breathing beside me. He could sleep soundly, unburdened by the weight of his betrayal. But I was wide awake, my mind crystallizing around a single thought. I had to protect myself. The next morning, I went to work as usual, but instead of meeting clients, I spent the day making calls. First to a divorce attorney recommended by a colleague, then to a forensic accountant, finally to a private investigator. "Document everything," my attorney advised. "Bank statements, credit card bills, casino receipts, anything that shows the extent of his gambling. And don't let him know you're preparing to leave. Men like this can become desperate when cornered." For the next 3 months, I played the perfect wife. I smiled and nodded when Mark talked about his system. I pretended not to notice when he came home at 3 a.m. reeking of cigarettes and desperation. I even acted concerned when he asked to borrow money from my personal account for a sure thing. But while he was losing himself in the neon glow of the casino, I was building my case. The private investigator tracked his movements, documenting every visit to the casino, every withdrawal, every loss. The forensic accountant pieced together the extent of his addiction, uncovering accounts I hadn't even known existed. The evidence was damning. Mark hadn't just gambled away our savings, he'd taken out loans in my name, forged my signature on documents, even mortgaged our house without my knowledge or consent. This is criminal behavior, my attorney said, reviewing the files. We can pursue charges if you want. I considered it, but revenge wasn't my goal. I just wanted out, and I wanted to salvage whatever I could from the wreckage of our life together. So I kept playing my part, all while methodically preparing for my escape. I opened new accounts at different banks, had my paychecks redirected, gathered important documents and irreplaceable family mementos, secured a small apartment across town under a different name. Mark noticed nothing, too consumed by his addiction to see what was happening right in front of him. He still came home talking about his latest system, about how he was due for a big win, about how everything would be fine if I just trusted him. The breaking point came sooner than I planned. I caught him in our home office late one night, hunched over my laptop, trying to access my personal accounts. "What are you doing?" I asked from the doorway, making him jump. "Deanna, I was just checking our accounts, making sure everything's in order." "No," I said quietly, "you were trying to steal from me. Again." His face darkened. "I wasn't stealing. I just need a little capital to implement my new strategy. Once I win big." "Stop." My voice was steel. "Just stop lying. To me, to yourself, to everyone." He stood up, his familiar face twisted with desperation. "You don't understand. I'm so close. One big win, and I can fix everything. I just need—" "What you need," I cut him off, "is help. Professional help. But I can't help you, Mark. Not anymore." "Professional help?" Mark scoffed, running his hands through his graying hair. "I don't need help. I need you to trust me." I laughed, a hollow sound that seemed to echo through our too big house. "Trust you? Like I trusted you with our retirement, our house, our entire future." His face darkened. "I made some mistakes, okay? But I can fix this. I just need a little more time, a little more capital." "No." The word came out sharp, final. "I'm done." I pulled an envelope from my purse and placed it on his desk. "These are divorce papers. I've already moved most of my things out." The color drained from his face. "What? You can't? Diana, please. We can work this out." "Can we?" I asked, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "Tell me exactly how we work out the fact that you've gambled away everything we spent 15 years building." He reached for me, but I stepped back. "I know I messed up," he pleaded. "But I love you. Doesn't that count for something?" "Love?" I shook my head. "Love doesn't empty joint accounts without permission. Love doesn't forge signatures or take out secret loans. Love doesn't destroy someone's life and then expect them to stick around for more." "But I've already frozen all our joint accounts," I continued. "My lawyer will be in touch about the division of assets. What's left of them anyway? Don't try to contact me directly." As I turned to leave, he called after me, his voice cracking. "Where will you go?" "Somewhere you can't find me," I replied without looking back. "Somewhere I can start over." The next few weeks were a blur of legal meetings and financial damage control. My attorney worked to protect what assets remained while the forensic accountant continued uncovering the extent of Mark's deception. The numbers were staggering. $2.3 million in gambling losses, $800,000 in debt, multiple maxed-out credit cards, and a second mortgage I'd known nothing about. Mark didn't take it well. He alternated between desperate pleas and angry threats, showing up at my office, bombarding me with calls and texts. I documented everything, building an even stronger case for the divorce. "He's spiraling," my private investigator reported. "Spending more time at the casino, taking bigger risks. You should consider a restraining order." I didn't want it to come to that, but when Mark showed up at my new apartment one night, clearly drunk and demanding money, I had no choice. The police escorted him away, and the next day, I filed for the order. Through it all, I kept working, building my client base and reputation. My colleagues were supportive, many of them having suspected something was wrong long before I did. They helped me network, brought me new clients, gave me the professional foundation I needed to rebuild. One evening, about 2 months after I left, I received a call from an unknown number. It was the casino's security team. "Mrs. Mitchell, we have your husband here. He's caused a disturbance, accused several dealers of cheating. He keeps saying you'll vouch for him, pay his markers. I closed my eyes, fighting back tears. I'm not responsible for him anymore. We're separated, and there's a restraining order in place. Understood, ma'am. We'll handle it from here. Later, I learned he'd been arrested for disorderly conduct and assault after trying to attack a dealer. It made the local news. Respected businessman Mark Mitchell, charged with multiple offenses at Encore Boston Harbor. The arrest seemed to wake something in him. His lawyer contacted mine, finally ready to discuss a settlement. Mark agreed to enter rehab as part of the divorce agreement, acknowledging his addiction and the damage he caused. I should have felt vindicated, but mostly I felt tired. Tired of the legal battles, tired of untangling our finances, tired of watching someone I'd love destroy himself and our life together. But beneath the exhaustion was something else. Determination. I'd survived this. More than survived, I was thriving. My personal client list had grown, my reputation stronger than ever. I'd moved to a smaller but comfortable apartment, started rebuilding my savings, and most importantly, reclaimed my sense of self. 6 months after finding that bank letter, I sat in a courtroom as our divorce was finalized. Mark was there, looking smaller somehow, the rehab having stripped away his false confidence. He tried to catch my eye, but I kept my gaze forward, focused on the judge. When it was over, he approached me in the hallway. Deanna, Don't, I said quietly. Just don't. I just want you to know I'm sorry. For everything. I nodded, finally meeting his eyes. I hope you get better, Mark. I really do. But I can't be part of that journey. As I walked away, my heels clicking against the marble floor, I felt lighter than I had in months. The worst was over. Now came the part I'd been planning for, the rebuild. 1 year after the divorce, I sat in my office reviewing a client's portfolio when a familiar name popped up in my email. Mark's sister, Jennifer. I know we haven't spoken since everything happened, her message read. But I thought you should know, Mark's in trouble again. He relapsed after rehab. Borrowed money from Dad's retirement fund. They're about to lose their house. I stared at the screen, a mixture of emotions washing over me. Mark's parents had always been kind to me, treating me like their own daughter. The thought of them losing everything because of their son's addiction made my stomach turn. I'm not asking you to help, Jennifer continued. God knows you've been through enough. I just thought you deserved to know, since Dad listed you as his financial advisor years ago and never changed it. I leaned back in my chair, thinking about the man who had welcomed me into his family, who had taught me to fish on summer weekends, whose wife had shared secret family recipes with me over countless Sunday dinners. They didn't deserve this. After a moment's hesitation, I picked up my phone and dialed Jennifer's number. Tell me everything, I said when she answered. The story was grimly familiar. After rehab, Mark had stayed clean for a few months, found a job at a small accounting firm. But the addiction pulled him back, and this time, with his own assets gone and my financial guardrails no longer in place, he turned to his parents. He told them he needed money for a business opportunity, Jennifer explained, her voice tight with anger. Dad trusted him, gave him access to their accounts. By the time they realized what was happening. How much? I asked, already pulling up their file on my computer. Almost everything. Their savings, their investments. Dad even took out a second mortgage because Mark convinced him the returns would be worth it. I closed my eyes, remembering how easily Mark could persuade people when he wanted something. His charm had fooled me for years. Of course, his own parents would be even more susceptible. Send me all the paperwork, I said. Bank statements, loan documents, everything. And don't let them sign anything else. Over the next few weeks, I worked overtime, examining every transaction, every document, every possible angle. I reached out to colleagues in elder law, consulted with fraud specialists, built a case showing how Mark had manipulated his parents. The banks were surprisingly cooperative once I presented evidence of financial exploitation of seniors. The second mortgage was invalidated due to questionable circumstances. Investment firms reversed some transactions after we proved Mark had misrepresented himself. It wasn't a complete recovery, but it was enough to save their house, to preserve some dignity in their retirement. Throughout it all, I never spoke directly to Mark or his parents. Everything went through Jennifer or the lawyers. But one evening, as I was leaving my office, I found Mark's mother waiting by my car. Deanna, she said softly, her face lined with grief and gratitude. Jennifer told us what you did. Mrs. Mitchell. Please, she interrupted, stepping closer. Let me say this. We failed you. We should have seen what Mark was doing, should have supported you when everything fell apart. Instead, we let him convince us you were exaggerating, that you'd abandoned him when he needed you most. Tears spilled down her cheeks. We were wrong. So wrong. And even after everything, you still helped us. I felt my own eyes welling up. Your family, I said simply. What Mark did, that doesn't change the love and kindness you showed me for 15 years. She hugged me then, and for a moment I let myself remember the warmth of Sunday dinners, of family holidays, of belonging. He's agreed to long-term treatment, she said as she pulled away. Real treatment this time, not just rehab. Maybe this time it will stick. I nodded, hoping for their sake that she was right. Today, 2 years after finding that bank letter, my life looks very different. I've built a successful practice specializing in financial recovery and protection for families affected by addiction. Many clients come to me through Jennifer, who now runs a support group for families of gambling addicts. I still think about Mark sometimes, wonder if he's finally found his way to recovery. Jennifer keeps me updated. He's still in treatment, taking it seriously this time. His parents visit him regularly but maintain strict financial boundaries. Last week, I received a letter from him. I recognized his handwriting on the envelope but didn't open it immediately. When I finally did, I found 12 pages of apology, taking responsibility for every lie, every betrayal, every moment of trust broken. You saved our family twice, he wrote. Once by leaving, forcing me to face what I'd become, and again by helping Mom and Dad when you had every right to turn away. I don't expect forgiveness, and I'm not asking to be part of your life again. I just want you to know that I understand now. I understand everything. I filed the letter away in my desk drawer, next to the final divorce papers. It didn't change anything, couldn't change anything, but it felt like closing a chapter that had been left unfinished. Sometimes clients ask me how I can do this work, how I can immerse myself in stories of addiction and betrayal day after day. I tell them the truth, that understanding financial trauma from both sides, as a professional and as a survivor, gives me a unique perspective. That helping others protect themselves and rebuild their lives helps give meaning to my own experience. The money Mark gambled away is gone, but I've rebuilt my savings, my career, my life. More importantly, I've rebuilt my trust in myself. I know now that I'm stronger than I ever imagined, capable of not just surviving betrayal but of turning that pain into purpose. Last Sunday, I had dinner with Mark's parents and Jennifer. We didn't talk about Mark or the past. Instead, we shared a meal, told old stories, and enjoyed being family in a different, perhaps more honest way than before. As I drove home that night, I thought about how life's biggest betrayals can sometimes lead us exactly where we need to be. I'm not grateful for what Mark did. I'll never be grateful for that kind of betrayal, but I'm proud of who I've become because of it. A few days ago, a new client sat in my office, tears streaming down her face as she described discovering her husband's gambling addiction. She looked broken, lost, just like I had been 2 years ago. I don't know how to start over, she whispered. I reached across the desk and took her hand. Let me help you, I said. I know exactly where to begin.